Hey everybody, welcome back to Let Her Cook, brought to you by BSCN. I am Jackie Dutton, and today we are going to be cooking per request from a comment about 2 weeks ago. Thank you for the engagement, and thank you for the suggestion. So today we are going to be cooking chili and cornbread. I'm going to be using ground turkey for this, but as always, when it's a ground meat kind of recipe, very rarely is it specific enough that you actually need the particular meat I'm talking about. So feel free for this recipe to use beef, pork, elk, deer, if you have a game hunter in your life, or even the tofu mix, you know, the fake meat, the Beyond Meat thing. Go for it. Try it. It's chili. It's almost impossible to screw up. So that's what we're going to do here. I'm also not going to reinvent the wheel with the cornbread. We're just going to use a box, and I'm going to cheat. Forgive me, but it's just too simple and easy. All right, so to start, I'm just going to heat up my handy dandy Dutch oven. Fun fact, I was little and I was on a historical tour somewhere, and they were talking about how the people who worked the kitchens, they used a Dutch oven. And my brothers, who are older than me, essentially ruined the tour giggling at the words Dutch oven. They found that so funny that they could not recover for the rest of the tour, and they almost like peed their pants laughing. So apparently when you use Dutch oven, obviously I'm not going to talk about what it is, but if you don't know what it is, in your boy, it's hilarious. So, all right. So we're gonna cut this ground turkey open. Chili is a lovely and incredibly easy recipe, but I was very surprised to learn that there are two camps in the world of chili, and I feel like the one side is actually kind of a minority. There are people who believe that chili should not have beans in it. And then there's everyone else who absolutely is of the opinion that beans belong in chili. It's just kind of meat, right? It's like the meat that goes on a hot dog if you eat it without beans. Like, I don't understand what the point of it would be without beans. I will still eat it, don't get me wrong. It's just that I was kind of surprised to hear people feel that it would be a bastardization of the recipe if it did include beans. So we are going to be using beans. We are going to be using 3 different kinds of beans for this recipe. Hello, big guy. And my dog has smelled the fact that I have opened this meat container. I think this is 3 pounds of turkey, and I'm just going to use half of this container today. And I'm going to try and not dump the whole thing in here. Okay, perfect. And we're going to obviously crumble this up as it cooks, and I'm going to season it as well. If you are following along, this is a fast and loose version of the Ina Garten recipe. And she does call for brown sugar, but I'm not going to use that. I'm also not going to use pinto beans. Instead, I'm going to cheat in a way that's kind of both, and it's the secret family recipe that a dog remembers but won't tell you of Bush's baked beans. If you are not from America, you might not have any idea what I'm referring to. Let's see. I have my emoji game going today. Love that. Love that. Yeah, if you guys have any comments, I can see on the stream what you're talking about, and I love to interact, so let me know. Spicy heat. Oh yeah, and we will talk about how to make this recipe not that spicy. All right, so let's keep cooking this up here. I really have to say Wednesdays have kind of become my favorite day because it helps me, doing this meal. I end up being able to make food for Wednesday, Thursday, and usually Friday as well. So my husband we eat off of this for the rest of the week. It takes a real load off my plate. And then when I get to the weekend, we go do whatever we want. We may go out to eat or, go pick something up. So Wednesday really makes my week a whole lot easier. Highly recommend doing this as well. You can also, if you are a crock pot person and you want to kind of set it and forget it, you can make a lot of this in advance and then just set this up in the crock pot, put it on low and with an automatic setting and come home and have lovely and delicious chili. And we are kind of playing with the fact that I don't have this second camera up like I normally do where you can see in the pot today because it's causing an audio issue. But if you do like that, please let me know and I will figure out a way to kind of adjust that. So we're going to let this cook and we're going to talk about a couple crypto things. So obviously the market has kind of been shitting itself. Not great news. I saw somebody say that Bitcoin around this $90,000 price is really a close your eyes and buy kind of moment. I don't know if that meant something positive. I don't know. What does that mean? Is that like riding a roller coaster where you close your eyes before it completely drops and you just don't want to watch? Or are you closing your eyes because it's like a wish, like a gift that you get to buy it at 90K? I don't know if any of us know the answer to that. If you do, I hope you are better at picking 5 numbers for the Powerball than I am, and I'm jealous. Yeah, ETH also fell below 3 grand. I'm kind of surprised that Sharp Lake has even allowed that. And then Jim Cramer today, I saw, he's speaking of oracles of price predictions. He said that it feels like a cabal is keeping the price of Bitcoin above 90 grand. Which, when did Jim Cramer adopt the verbiage of the Solana shitcoin communities? I think that's hilarious. Love when that happened. I love how everything was a cabal, like a secret organization, when really it was just a massive group of morons. If that's what a cabal is, then I don't know, guys. I can't help you. All right, so this meat mixture is mostly cooked, so we're going to add in these onions. While this continues to cook up. Yeah, I think this over here. Hello, sweet bud. I love that my dogs wander around like, when's lunch ready? When they do not get fed from the table. Absolutely wild. Okay. Chili, like I mentioned, is like a really nice set it and forget it type of recipe. So basically we're going to cook up this meat. We're going to add the seasoning, spices, and beans and some broth and tomatoes. And then you just kind of let this roll for a little while. While that happens, I'm going to make sure that we also make up our cornbread and we bake that in the oven. Again, like I mentioned, we're just going to use a box. And then the cornbread will be done by the time this like marinates and has this lovely 1 to 2 hours to really just kind of simmer. So it's gonna hodl. We're having this is another hodling recipe. We love that. Let's see. So some fun, maybe not fun news for other people. No good deed goes unpunished in the crypto space. And Haley Welch, who is the Hawk Tua girl, She was added to the Solana meme coin lawsuit after she cooperated with the law firm. So there was a class action set of people who all got together. They felt that they had been robbed, and actually they had, because the token, they claimed that that there were no insiders, that there was no pre-sale. They claimed that there wasn't any funny business going on. And when the token debuted around a $20-ish million market cap, it shot up to about a 40-something million market cap, and then very quickly red candles appeared on the chart. And now today it sits at around a $1 billion market cap. So clearly when it started at 20 and it ended at 1, the only way for that to be possible is if there were enough private tokens being held to sell through the floor that was initially created. So yes, there was absolutely some funny business. And it says she has been named in a new filing for the existing federal class action lawsuit against the creators of the calamitous meme coin launch that she promoted last year. The filing alleges that Haley was paid potentially up to $325,000 to be a critical component of a token launch that promised features that it could not deliver from a technical standpoint. I don't remember them claiming that the token would have any kind of utility or that it would be anything other than a meme coin. But I do remember the hype, and I do remember them claiming a lot of other stuff that obviously ended up not being true. All right, so we're going to start adding some of our seasonings here. So we're going to go with cumin, brand new cumin. You know how people are like, oh, you should replace your spices every 6 months. Yeah, that doesn't happen here. All right, we're going to add cumin. And that is my oven. I hate this happens here. And the recipe says 15 grams. I am an American. I have no fucking idea what that means. So we're going to season with our soul today. So cumin, you're going to add, this is about a tablespoon of chili powder. If you want this to be less spicy, you're going to want to add less chili powder. So I'm going to add just a little over a teaspoon and a half, so it's not like super. You can always add, pepper or chili powder. You can't take it away though once you do it. You can't put that genie back in the bottle. So you gotta be careful. And I'm gonna grab a clean spoon. I'm gonna start stirring this in. Let's see. I'm gonna add oregano. We've already added salt and pepper. And I think, does this call for my favorite ingredient of a bay leaf? No. Okay. All right. So now to this, once your meat mixture is nice and cooked and it's browning, you're going to add a whole tiny little can of tomato paste. If somebody knows of a company that has a better can opener option that is willing to sponsor Let Her Cook, I would be forever appreciative. Because this clearly, I went to college. But yeah, opening a can, it's really kicking my ass today. God, this is a joke. Something else I did want to talk about that is fairly unrelated to crypto, but it is the season. Is if you guys are looking for like a gift guide, that I am more than happy to kind of set aside a couple items while we do at least one of these streams where I can talk to you about some ideas if you're looking for ideas, maybe for women in your life or even your husband. Sometimes, you know, men are hard to get a gift for sometimes, I feel like. Okay, that's about as good as this is going to get here. We're going to stir in this tomato paste. Do this up with the wooden spoon. Turn this down. This recipe is going to be great because I have to open about 6 cans. So if you enjoyed that performance, we're just going to keep running it back. I'm really, really looking forward to opening more cans today. All right, now we're going to add actual tomatoes. These are fire roasted diced tomatoes. You're going to add this entire can. This is going much better. Maybe it's just the little cans. To stack that. And now we're gonna keep adding the cans of things. I thought about being super extra and like making my own beans where you just like soak them in water forever and you know, then I put them in the Instant Pot and pressure cook them, but I didn't do that. Right. Make sure you drain your beans, your cans of beans. You don't need the liquid. So we're going to do a can of black beans, a can of red kidney beans, and then a can of Bush's baked beans. Now we're going to open more cans. Favorite part, guys. This already smells really good. Something that we talked about on stream. Oh, I immediately, I think later that night or within 24 hours, I got screwed on a call sheet prediction that I made from our Monday stream. If you were watching, I said that I was actually not sure that the House or the Senate would pass the resolution to release the Epstein files, only because I think they hadn't passed it once before. They had a chance to, and they didn't. But last night, if you were paying attention, the House and the Senate, within about an hour of each other, in the House, all but one, and in the Senate, I think it was unanimous, everyone voted to release the Epstein files. And it now, I think, sits on Trump's desk, and he gets to decide whether or not he's going to pass it or veto it, which he claims that he will pass it. He also claims that it now gives Pam Bondi and the DOJ the ability to veto or redact, any piece of information that they feel is a threat to national security. If Jeffrey Epstein did not have a security clearance, I'm not quite sure what about any of this would be a, quote, threat to national security, if they were just investigating him and all of his goings on. So that feels like a setup for a rug, if I'm being honest. And I still stand by what I said on Monday, which is that I think it will just be so heavily redacted that, like, there's just no way that it will be worth it. With this can, by the way, of baked beans, we're going to leave the liquid in it just because this is where the brown sugar sweetness is. So I'm going to add this whole thing. And this is going to be a nice balance of like sweet, savory, and a little spicy. Kind of like that hot honey craze that's really been going on lately. I don't know why like we needed to put hot honey on everything lately, but we do. It's almost unavoidable when you go to a restaurant. You just it's like I'm just trying to order like a flatbread pizza or something, and they're like, "Oh, we put hot honey on that." I'm like, "Oh, why?" 2 years ago, nobody had heard of this ingredient. Nobody cared. But now all of a sudden, my honey needs to be spicy. What is happening? Okay. So this is looking great, and my last ingredient here will just be about 2 cups, so about half of this container of chicken broth. It's my very serious form of measuring. We all know I'm super precise on this show. Okay. The Food Network hates her. She doesn't fucking measure. All right. And then I'm just gonna stir this so it's all incorporated. And then you're gonna bring this up to a boil. So I'm gonna turn the heat up for a second. And then once it starts to boil, we're going to turn the heat down, cover it, and simmer it for 1 to 2 hours. I'm gonna go. So basically, we're not going to see the end of this until I post a picture of it later on the internet. But yeah, you're just going to let this go and simmer and let all of the flavors incorporate here. I'm going to add the rest of whatever's on the spoon back in. Okay. And no bay leaf today, guys. Because we know how I feel about the scam that is big bay leaf. Okay, so while this comes up to a boil, I am going to make cornbread. But let's do something fun and make cornbread muffins. I think all right. Muffin pan. This silicone muffin pan, if you have a baker in your life, this is Jackie's unsolicited gift guide right now. If you have a baker in your life and they use the metal muffin pan and you spend way too much time like soaking and trying to clean the muffin pan, do you know the muffin pan that is the silicone ability to just like pop this right out? I love this thing. It's very hard to get things to stick to it. So it's naturally like just very easy. You're not scrubbing all day for the rest of your life to try and get like any drippings or burned on bits off of the silicone. So highly recommend this as a muffin pan for the baker in your life. So we're going to use this silicone muffin pan for some cornbread muffins today instead of just like one big pan because that'll take longer. So we can make some cornbread muffins. The box I bought is just this, I don't know, I went to Safeway. It's just a box of like regular cornbread. They also make gluten-free cornbread. And, you know, sweet style. I grew up in Southern California. We had Marie calendars around all the time. And I will tell you, they have the best cornbread. And I did see in the store that they sell the cornbread like in a bag that you can make. They also have, if you know, you know, Marie Callender's had the best potato cheese soup. And I made it last year. I was able to like find a good copycat recipe and I did make it. And honestly, for soup season, like that might be on the list because that was unreal and such a childhood throwback. But you have to have it with the cornbread. And I don't know how else like to have it. You have to have cornbread with the potato cheese soup. Okay. Now that I have dried this off, The one thing I will say that I don't love about this pan is that it's harder if you get something like stuck in it that you're trying to get out, because it is silicone. It doesn't just like wipe out like metal. Okay. So we're gonna leave that. This is coming up to a boil. Stir this. And while we make up the cornbread, we're going to talk about some more crypto stuff. All right, so apparently there's a debate going on right now on Protos's website using a chart about whether or not Biden or Trump was better for Bitcoin overall. So the chart's pretty interesting because if you take a look at it, there's actually what appears to be a good bit of stability in Trump's level. He's like this red line, and it actually looks like it's kind of at a break even right now. And then with Biden's, it looks like there's just a ton of nothing but volatility. So he starts around a 0% in the change in Bitcoin price. They both start at the same level. And then Biden, it goes up to close to 80% and then crashes back down to almost negative 20%. And then towards the end of his 280th day that they've taken within this time frame, it goes up to 80% again. Trump's, however, starts around 0% and it looks like it's kind of just above, like maybe around the 10% range. So I guess you could argue the point that this really depends on like what you are looking for overall when it comes to your Bitcoin experience. If you want the price to go up, that's great. But during Biden, it also crashed back down immensely. Whereas if you wanted to buy it and have it be a slightly safer investment, and the change in price has really gone up only about 10% in 280 days. You know, maybe that's for you. Do you prefer volatility or do you not? And I guess if it depends on the game that you play, right? If you're playing longs and shorts, you're probably a Biden guy. You probably liked Biden's Bitcoin better. But if you are playing for just a hodl and not totally lose your ass, you're probably more appreciative of Trump's 280 days of Bitcoin. So, you know, to each their own. Really depends here. Okay, I'm going to hit this on low, and we're going to cover this. You're also going to want to make sure that you stir that from time to time. So about every, 5-10 minutes, come over, give it a stir. Make sure nothing's sticking to the bottom. And we're going to make up this cornbread. This is a real easy thing where you're going to want to check the box even after you throw it in the trash, because you will forget, even though it's just like right there. 1/3 cup of butter or margarine melted, 2/3 cup of milk, and 1 egg. So we're going to add the egg and the milk, and I'm going to melt a little butter. Nope. Two thirds. Do you guys have a milk drinker in your life at home? So full disclosure, I don't drink milk. I'm actually lactose intolerant. My husband does. My husband loves milk to the point that like we kind of have to always have it in the house. I don't understand drinking milk, in my opinion. like human milk is for humans and cow milk is for cows. So the idea that we eat or drink cow milk is a little odd. I understand, like, we have domesticated animals and, you know, they can be used as a food source and everything. I think it's just like weird that we have, you know, cows that we continuously make sure that they are in a lactation state, and then we use that to make milk that humans drink. That's just my general commentary, okay? It's just my general opinion on that. All right, I'm gonna melt this. I'm just gonna get a different stick of butter here. You also need to let me know if you were team counter butter or team refrigerator butter. I prefer counter butter when you are doing, you know, like if you have toast or something that you want to spread the butter on, because then it's like softer and it's easier to work with. But when you have something like this where I'm going to need to melt the butter and I have to cut it a specific way, it's much easier. Okay. This is the worst, like, lined. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have to remember this when I make the Thanksgiving food. Speaking of Thanksgiving, next week is Thanksgiving. Probably for the show, we won't be doing any requests just because it is my cooking Super Bowl. The day before, and the timing of all of this being on Wednesday lines up so perfectly with the fact that I spend maybe about 6 hours the day before Thanksgiving prepping and cooking things. So I think it's just going to be like we'll just turn the camera on in the middle of me. I will do you a favor and actually wear normal clothes and not cook in my bathrobe like I normally do. For some reason, Gone with the Wind is always on one of the channels on AMC. So that's just been my tradition of like cooking, watching Gone with the Wind, wearing a bathrobe all day. It's great. It's one of my favorite days. I love it. The other thing I really enjoy doing is on Thanksgiving actual day is the Westminster Dog Show is on. And I really love to see all of the dogs. And if my dogs can see that there are dogs on the TV, they can't tell if it's like a window outside. So they enjoy reacting to the Westminster Dog Show as well. And by reacting, I mean barking. But yeah, also let me know in the chat what your Thanksgiving plans are. Do you spend it with family? Do you spend it with a big family? Do you eat early or do you prefer to eat later? Also, do you like turkey? Because there are people I know who apparently are even team ham on Thanksgiving instead of team turkey, which I found weird when I figured that out. Okay. Now we are going to mix this up. I'm actually going to use a whisk. Use a festive little whisk here. I'm sure you could use a KitchenAid stand mixer if you feel like cleaning more shit than this, but I don't. All right, and then one of the other stories I saw, Bitcoin Treasury Nakamoto down 98%. It still pays David Bailey lavishly. So David Bailey is the CEO of Bitcoin Magazine. He also helps put on the Bitcoin conference every year. And he created this Bitcoin treasury called the Nakamoto Treasury. And it's kind of like a MicroStrategy concept where they just accumulate as much Bitcoin as possible at a particular price point. But apparently, they clearly started doing this while it was up massively. The article on Protos says, despite holding 5,765 Bitcoin worth about $540 million in its so-called treasury, Nakamoto's market cap is less than $300 million. Its common stock has lost 1/5 of its value within the last month and 95% of its value over the past 6 months. The winner amid the downfall is Bailey himself. So apparently this is correlated to a stock with the ticker being NAKA and AKA. And the shares originally started at $1.12 and it shot up to $30. But this article is really ripping on the fact that apparently, despite the fact that this whole thing is kind of sucking right now, David Bailey is still being paid some kind of salary, but I'm trying to see what the amount is and I can't quite see it. The once high flyer, which just delayed its quarterly earnings report and associated SEC filings, has complained about the complexity of the accounting after losing over $23 million on digital assets, replaced a CEO at a company it is acquiring, and admitted that it has originally planned to pay a lavish 10x multiple for one of Bailey's private businesses, Bitcoin Inc. Oh, man. Okay. This doesn't seem to have a dollar amount that I can see, like, openly. If you go back and you scroll down further, there is a lot of commentary on Protos's website about this Nakamoto treasury. And I do think that it's interesting, again, that we talked about this last week. But we have this combination of DeFi, of decentralized finance, and TradFi. And it just feels, and I'm not trying to shit on like Bitcoin Inc. or anything, but it does feel like just kind of a very bizarre grift when something that is staunchly Bitcoin, staunchly about self-sovereignty, staunchly about, you know, getting away from the evils of, you know, big banks and Wall Street and everything, all of a sudden is like, actually, let's start an IPO and let's get involved in the stock market. And it just feels like worse than being a sellout. It just feels like, oh, apparently you never believed what you claimed you believed in the first place, because if you did, you would not do this. So that's just my 2 cents on that. I know I raved just 5 minutes ago about how nothing sticks to this, and nothing really does, but just because this is habit, I'm gonna lube this up with a little butter. Because it is cornbread after all. But there should be, between the butter and everything else in here, it should be fine. I would normally use a spray, but I am out right now. Okay. Set that aside. She is thick. I like how thick this is. Okay. If you haven't checked the clips, there is a May I Meet You kind of opinionated set of clips from our Monday stream where I talked about Bill Ackman's strategy, and this kind of is like a little viral moment here for a lot of people where men have just, it has magically dawned on them with this May I Meet You strategy that approaching women in a non-threatening way and being polite is actually, some of the time, it's actually working. And they're shocked. I'm not, but I do talk in the clips a little bit about how if you're not seeing any luck with that kind of strategy, something that might be a little bit better of an icebreaker than something very like generic and open of just like, may I meet you? May I meet you is not a customized approach. It feels like maybe a shotgun statement where you just fire away and see what you can hit with it. But if you take a little time to make some type of comment about your surroundings or something happening around you, that women would find that a little more engaging than just, hey, can I know your name? Which is essentially what the may I meet you comment feels like. But it's way less creepy than something like, you know, hey girl, show me your boobs. I don't think anybody has ever said that to me, but I have been hollered at on the street, in the grocery store parking lot, and other various times. I did have one time where I was working, I worked at a bar, and this guy came in and he said, he was like, hey, he'd come to the bar a couple times and he was nice, but he came up to the bar and he said, hey, I'm sorry, I know this is really random, but would you want to go to the pro football game with me? And I was like, I was like, that is actually so nice. I was like, I have a boyfriend. I'm sorry, I can't join you. I was like, but dude, try that line on absolutely any other woman in here. And I think as long as she is single, she will say yes. So not everybody needs NFL tickets, but the NFL ticket thing, that would help for sure. I think that's another, you know, hey, come do this experience with me. I know we don't know each other, but let's go do this together. Very cool. So maybe lead with that too. But yeah, I thought that was like a, that was the only time I thought like, wow, that was a good one. That was really good. But yeah, may I meet you? And again, we talked about how Bill Ackman is a 6'2" billionaire. He's very handsome. I'm sure most people agree, Bill. I'm sure. But overall, you know, I think when you're approaching somebody, everybody has, and especially women, because we literally can live and die by this ability to have a little bit of a sixth sense in being able to tell if somebody has good intentions. And sadly, when women cannot tell, sometimes that turns out really dangerous. And that's really what women are trying to avoid when they are being avoidant or not really like wanting to engage. It's just that. And, you know, please be patient with us. We're just kind of trying to protect our safety. We know that none of us are like Uma Thurman and Kill Bill, okay? We cannot kick your ass. We cannot overpower you. So we have to just outthink you and outsmart you. And that's really how we have survived. You know, if you think about it, men are the only real natural predator to women on Earth, sadly. So it's not lions. Like, I'm not afraid of a bear the way that I am afraid of walking down a dark alley at night by myself. I'm certainly not afraid that a grizzly bear is going to come out of the trash can and like try to hurt me, right? I'm much more afraid that a human being man might, though. And that's just statistics, and that's just the way it is. And I'm really sorry to burst your bubble and point that out. Again, oh, I didn't throw it away. Good for me. Okay. So the oven has been preheated to 375 degrees, and it says for cornbread and muffins, we're going to bake 14 to 16 minutes. And that's for regular size muffins, and there's less time if you're doing the mini ones. Okay, so we're going to throw this here in the oven. And I'm going to throw these up for 16 minutes. And that should be like perfectly in time with the end of the stream. So the last thing I did want to talk about here is the fact that within the last day, senators are pushing for a probe into Trump-linked crypto firms, so World Liberty Fi, over the token sales that are quote-unquote tied to North Korea and Russia, allegedly. Leading the charge, of course, Elizabeth Warren and Jack Reed are seeking a probe of a Trump-tied crypto firm over alleged links to illicit actors in North Korea and Russia. A watchdog flagged World Liberty Fi sales to, quote, various highly suspicious entities, raising security concerns. The push comes as Congress weighs rules that could limit oversight of governance tokens. So I feel like we need to acknowledge a couple things here. If you've ever been hacked or you held funds on an exchange that got hacked, your tokens are quote unquote tied to North Korea. It is most likely North Korea doing the hacking. So yeah, I guess by this weird definition, they're tied to North Korea. Like all of us probably are at this point. If you bought any crypto at all, you might be able to argue the fact that unless you mine it yourself off of the Bitcoin blockchain and you are holding it in a wallet and it's never been touched or hacked, that is maybe the only instance in which your crypto has not been tainted by the Lazarus hacking group of North Korea. So this is like vague language, and you know, I don't know. Elizabeth Warren is just such a hater, and she's just really always looking for a problem, especially when it comes to crypto and digital assets, and especially when it comes to Trump. And I think obviously they are really looking to catch World Liberty Fi in anything they possibly can. You know, them's the breaks. She's really just the #1 hater for this. But it does say that the senator cited a September report from a 501c3 nonprofit corporate watchdog called Accountable US, which said that World Liberty Financial had sold its tokens to, quote, various highly suspicious entities. Those entities included traders with ties on the blockchain to a notorious North Korean hacking organization, a sanctioned Russian ruble-backed sanctions evasion tool, an Iranian crypto exchange, and Tornado Cash, a known money laundering platform, the watchdog alleged. World Liberty Financial has obviously denied any wrongdoing, saying that there is no conflict of interest between World Liberty Fi with zero political power and the US government, and that they also conducted rigorous AML, anti-money laundering, or KYC checks on every pre-sale purchaser of the World Liberty Fi governance token and turned down millions of dollars from potential purchasers who failed the tests. So AML and KYC obviously is a background check kind of way to be able to know who is purchasing things. I generally believe this, actually, that World Liberty Fi was legit about who they allowed to buy this token. This is a family that has done nothing but experience every type of scrutiny possible, you know, legal, governmental, I'm sure medical at some point. They have crawled up their ass with a microscope from every single angle possible. So I think they know that in order to play the game, they do have to play within the rules. Now, as far as stable coins, governance tokens, and any type of crypto projects, we are in a fast and loose area where they are clearly creating the rules as they go. Does this lawsuit hold any water at this point? No, probably not. Trump's sons are the ones running it. There's no direct connection as far as Trump like actively having any say that they have proven so far. I could be wrong. I could be proven wrong later. But you know, for the most part, I just think, I hope my camera is not zooming in on me. No, it's not. Okay. But really, for the most part here, I do think that World Liberty Fi went as legit as possible as they could with this, because they had to, because there was going to be so much scrutiny involved in this project. You know, World Liberty Fi is kind of one of the true winners of this crypto cycle, and one of the few. They have their World Liberty Fi token. They also have a stable coin called USD1. And I think the Trump family also controls something crazy like 90% of the majority of the tokens. It's been really alleged that they have made hundreds of millions of dollars off of this project. But World Liberty Fi isn't a meme coin. It's more closely tied to things like real world assets and tokenization of other things. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a nice, that blending of TradFi and DeFi like we talked about a little earlier, where there's an IPO of some sort later. None of that would surprise me either. So, yeah, I don't think that ultimately this will go anywhere. It'll be a nothing burger, just like a lot of Elizabeth Warren's other gripes about the crypto industry. But the article details risks supercharging illicit activity. The letter from the senators noted these expansions, which are expanding and launching new projects and products, including a debit card and tokenized commodity assets. It added that the Trump's family's close ties to the company also create a financial conflict of interest for the Trump administration officials. The report to the president prioritizing token sales will directly enrich the Trump family, while compliance activities may interfere with this wealth creation. So it says every time a governance token is sold, 3/4 of that money goes directly to President Trump and his family, even for sales to entities linked to North Korea and Russia. This is part of the argument about crypto and being involved in crypto while you hold a political office. It's a free, like just an absolute free for all in terms of who can have access to purchasing this token. The meme coin is the same way, but all of them are the same way. This is the thing, the blessing and the curse of DeFi. You can't wall off countries and people in countries from being able to purchase things. And even then, that's just an issue of a VPN. So, what are you going to do about it? Now, obviously, if shit started happening where like the US relationship with North Korea all of a sudden like completely alters out of the blue and Trump starts, selling them weapons and military equipment, does that change the conversation about maybe where this is going? I mean, yeah, it would. But do we see any of that kind of thing coming to fruition or actually happening? No. I don't know what to think of this, but personally, like, if you're sitting in this position at World Liberty Fi and somebody says, oh, well, people from North Korea have purchased a ton of your token, exactly what the fuck is the conversation in the boardroom supposed to look like? Oh, well, let's figure out how to arrange a political favor for them so that they know that they can just keep buying more and we'll keep getting our wheels greased. Who is saying that? Who is thinking about that? Again, could be wrong, but I just don't think that that's the conversation happening, especially if you're making money no matter who buys this shit. And I know that's the argument of, well, if the bad people are buying it and you're making money, you're not going to deter bad people from buying it. But also the good people are buying it and you're still making money. It's just an even wash. I don't know if anybody cares at the end of the day. Does Taylor Swift care if North Korea is streaming her album or listening to it? I doubt they even know who Taylor Swift is in North Korea. But in the event that like they were, it's not like she's going to call up Kim Jong-un and be like, take my stuff off the radio. don't pay me. Don't stream my stuff. There's nothing you could do about it, right? It's just available in the ether on the internet. Lastly, it says Warren and Reid's letter asked the Treasury and the Justice Department to outline information related to potential enforcement actions against World Liberty Financial by December 1st. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see if by December 1st anything gets done about this. All right, so we have 5 minutes left on this. I'm going to go to X real quick. Did anybody see that picture of Michael Saylor? And it was an AI-generated picture of the Titanic was behind him, and I think it might have also been on fire, and it was sinking, or a boat that looks like the Titanic. and he was on some life raft in front of it in this AI generated picture. And he said something to the effect of like, oh, we have to go down with the ship essentially, and we're just totaling. I'm going to pull this up so I can look at it here. And I'll drop it in the chat for Ben so you guys can see. So yeah, this Titanic boat on fire, clearly sinking, and then he is on this life raft in front of it in stormy seas, and his entire caption is just "hodl." Peter Schiff commented, one of the top comments that I can see actually is except you are hodling on the Titanic. It's better to jump ship before it goes down for good. I did think this was an interesting point. He's on a life raft, and the boat behind him, which is symbolic of Bitcoin, is on fire and it's sinking. And he, in this picture, has posted himself to be in this life raft, saving himself and getting away from the ship that's on fire. I appreciate the sentiment. I obviously think he's such a Bitcoin maxi. He would go down with the ship. He'd be playing the violin with the band, right? He's good. He doesn't need a life jacket. He's in it to win it. But yeah, when he really like created this image, I'm just like not sure if it was completely thought through, because obviously being on a life raft means you escaped. It looks like you sold. And then I think people ended up accusing him of actually liquidating. Also, the price action of Bitcoin became so volatile and dipping below $100,000 and then finally into the $90,000 range. They just assumed that no one had enough Bitcoin to take the price like that other than Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy. But obviously more people do. And I feel bad that he got the finger pointed at him and he got accused of that. But honestly, I mean, this meme is just so funny. He has since posted an image of him. It looks like he's in a knight's armor. And it's a Bitcoin themed suit of armor, and he looks like the Kingslayer or something. And the caption for this is "Never back down." So he has discovered how to make AI images for himself here out of Bitcoin. And there's one of him as Captain Jack Sparrow. There's one of him as Neo. Wow, he's really had a lot of fun with this. There's one of him on Mount Everest. One where it looks like walking through a street in the middle of the purge. Okay, then. Yeah. So these cornbread muffins are finishing up. Like I said, thank you guys so much for the commentary, leaving comments, giving suggestions. I really enjoy cooking, and that was kind of the first start of the concept of this show of Let Her Cook, and being able to make something and make a meal and actually physically do something while I talk to you about crypto instead of just being a little chatterbox and talking head. I don't like that as much as being able to teach and do something while we do this stream. So thank you for the suggestions of the recipes. If you have more, if you want to see like Christmas themed or holiday themed of some sort kind of recipe, please let me know in the comments. Again, I loved the suggestion of chili and cornbread. If it's gross, I probably won't make it. I'm just letting you know. But also, don't count out desserts, because I'm feeling like it might be dessert December, which my general workout plan is not going to love, but my taste buds are. So we could talk about dessert December. Maybe mix that in with soup season, dessert December. Keep kind of going from there. But yeah, overall, it's been a really quiet week in the crypto market. Not quiet on the chart or the price action, but in terms of news, this is actually fairly typical of not a bear market necessarily, but just kind of lower price action. Obviously, things are completely bananas when there's just tons of green candles, tons of price action, tons of fun. It's obviously way more fun when people are winning in the casino than it is when people are losing. So we definitely need a little uptick in this feeling. I would say it's like that song, we need a little Christmas. We need a little Christmas feeling here. Some red and some green on the chart, right? And we don't want it to be like the Grinch that stole the green candles. All right. So the cornbread muffins are done. So I'm gonna pull these out. Oh, it's hot. Not burned myself. How lovely. Love that. And here's the chili. So this is just going to keep simmering for probably another hour. And this is just a lovely little combo of a meal here. So we're going to wrap the stream up. But look at how delicious. Okay. Can't wait for this to be done. Can't wait to eat all of this. Thank you so much for tuning into another episode of Let Her Cook. I am Jackie Dutton, as always, here for BSCN. I will see you Monday at 12 p.m. Make sure you check the socials for any clips from the show, any fun, spicy takes I can kind of cut up and let my brain work a little faster for, and make this, boil it down into less than 1 minute type of concept for you. And otherwise, I will see you guys next week. And it's the week of Thanksgiving. So I'm super excited. I'm super excited to get our Thanksgiving cook on. I will see you guys Monday at 12 p.m. Eastern, and have a great day. Bye.